I asked my community to send in their visual effects shots to review live on stream, and you all did not disappoint.
Ah, that's so sick.
Scaling is one of the biggest things that will throw things off inside of visual effects.
I think the light direction is actually off.
Thanks to my patrons for supporting this video and for all of those that submitted. If you want to participate in the next community event, I'll have a link for the Discord down below where you can join in on all the fun. Anyways, let's hop into the video.
How's everybody doing? Welcome to the stream. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of your guys' work. I'm super excited because you guys have been sending some cool stuff. I think I haven't actually seen any of the stuff. I've made sure to like turn that channel off for me on Discord, and so I'm hoping we get some exciting first reactions here. Oh, let's read what they said first. I say I'm an animator at VFX. I use mainly Blender, F-Spy, DaVinci, and Krita. Interesting. No, smoke simulation took forever. Sweet. So first of all, we have a little ship. It's flying away. It's all looking good now. The smoke simulation, I will say, is a little bit bare bones. I think you already kind of know that. My problem with Blender smoke, yeah, like you can't even see. If you didn't even tell me there was smoke there, I wouldn't even think that was smoke. Blender smoke simulation is so bad, in my opinion. Blender just isn't a physics kind of software. Of course, the industry standard one is Houdini, but of course that's a little hard to actually learn and all that stuff. One I actually recommend and I've used in the past is Embergen. Embergen is a great smoke, pyro, anything, even with particles. You know, we'll I saw another shot later on. We'll talk about the particle engine inside of Embergen as well. But it's just amazing software there. And the nice thing about that is you can actually export out a what's called an open VDB, which is basically, you can think of it just a sequence of volume, and so you can export that into Blender and actually render that out super fast inside of Blender and still work inside of Blender, because their rendering software inside of that isn't that great compared to Cycles. But just keep that in mind whenever I do smoke and stuff. I always use Embergen. So let's see what else we got. So we got some like emission going on here. I don't know if this is a mission or just a light. In this case, I would say it's better to do a light, just because emission textures like take so long to render. I don't know if you guys have ever messed around with it, but yeah, it takes super long to render. So very good there. The camera tracking is pretty good. This was one of my tutorials, so I'm sure you just followed that. In terms of the animation, it's looking pretty good. It kind of lifts up. There's a little bit of a stutter here. Let's see. It's not like a smooth lift up. Yeah, there's kind of like a little like jitter. It's kind of weird. And then it just flies out. Yeah, I would personally eliminate the smoke also, because Blender smoke, you can have all this grain detail in it, and I don't believe Blender actually denoises the smoke. And so yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have about this shot. Also, real quickly, guys, I just wanted to point out that I have a Instagram. I've been trying to kind of grow on Instagram and doing more stuff over there. And so you can check out my Instagram. It's Jacob_Zirkel. I have all of my client work if you guys are interested in that. And then also all of my posts and stuff down here that you'll actually see all of my work first on Instagram. And so if you want to check that out, it's right down here. So definitely go ahead and check that out. I would love to see you there. Post a comment saying that I sent you. So that'd be sick. Let's go to Karen. So we have a traditional kind of space shot here. We got some, it looks like the textures you use are a little low textures, especially for how close we are to the shot. Looks like a longer lens, and so that's definitely gonna create some headaches, especially when you see some of the pixels there. I don't know if I can zoom in anymore, but I am noticing like on some of these craters here, there are some pixel detail that I'm noticing. So let's go. You sent some more shots. Okay, so we have animation. Sweet. And I, of course, with Discord being Discord, I know it's gonna lead to some compression artifacts and stuff like that. So I'll take your word for it that it's not compressed on your end and stuff. But yeah, no, I think the animation is cool. That either the moon is very tiny, or the spaceship is so large it's like the size of you know, a whole continent. Yeah, it's like it goes behind the moon, which is kind of an odd choice if I'm being honest. I don't necessarily think it needs to go behind the moon, and even if you did want it to go behind the moon, it would need to be going so much faster in this frame. I think that's kind of what is throwing me off right now. Yeah, I think animation, just concept wise, scaling is so important inside of visual effects, guys. Like one of the biggest things I tell all my students to kind of master is scaling. Scaling is one of the biggest things that will throw things off inside of visual effects. First render of the video. Okay, so this was first draft. I always like seeing some preview and stuff. So just blocking, this is a great step in the visual effects process, or any kind of process in general, even like art and stuff like that, is just getting blocking down. And so I'm really glad you sent this as well, because it's a big thing that I think a lot of people miss out on, and that is you know, not blocking out your scene, because that will lead to so many decisions. And it seems like you actually followed your blocking pretty well to the actual shot, and so that's pretty cool to see. Saw your video of spacecraft VFX, and I also like Star Wars Rebels cartoon. I'm personally more of a Clone Wars fan, but I'll let it slide. So I try my best. Mostly I'm into clothing industry, so a new experience for me, not as 3D, but animation, something in 3D. Awesome. Yeah, no, as your first kind of like animation and stuff like that, I think especially getting the spacecraft to kind of rotate correctly of how it would, that's pretty good. I'd maybe like to see a little bit more compositing. This is a thing about like space visual effects. There's always like a ton of freaking bloom. Like, you know, everything will be kind of overexposed, especially the side of the moon. The moon is like a super reflective, not planet, but moon, because it's reflecting the sun, right? And so there's always a lot of bloom in the sky. And then, you know, just more compositing overall, I think would really, really help this piece. I find a lot of people inside Blender don't really composite a lot. And I think that would really help, you know, to blend in the edge to space. I just find a lot of like space visual effects do that. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. So thank you, Karen, for sending that over. Adu, he's in the stream right now. Sweet. So we can talk about this one-on-one. That's awesome. I am a 14-year-old, 15 in a week. So when was this? Is it birthday? Okay, so 3 days ago. So we still got you, still 14. Happy early birthday. And want to pursue my career in visual effects. I think I can call myself somewhat of an experienced intermediate beginner user. I like how you said that, experienced intermediate. And I love playing around with the simulations. For making this video, I use Blender, Nuke, and Premiere Pro. I try to integrate multiple simulations in this shot. I hope you all like it. Sweet, let's take a look. Some water sim. Or is it water sim? Are you pulling our leg? Let's see. Super nice, super nice. So let's take a look at it. You said you're an intermediate level artist. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But oh, you even have like a shark at the beginning, a little hidden detail. I like it. Yeah, what I'm really missing, especially with fireworks on water, is the reflection of the actual fireworks. I'm assuming you did the fireworks in compositing, which is not bad at all. You know, I think I have done some fireworks in the past in compositing, but no, like they were super far in the background and not in reflective surfaces. Especially with reflective surfaces like water, you're going to see all those fireworks. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you did this in compositing, but I would actually recommend you putting like a plane in inside of Blender, even if you're not going to render it out, just to be set as indirect only and still have compositing flexibility. Just because like what I'm really missing here is all the pops of the fireworks on the water. I think that would be very cool to kind of add in there, you know. Also, I don't think I have to tell you, some of your assets are clipping up here. I think you are already know that. But yeah, I think it'd be just super cool to do it, especially because like fireworks are a huge light source, right? And so like having huge explosions would just, in my opinion, create more of a interesting looking shot. I guess this is a little bit more subjective, even though I do think objectively they would be on the water as well. I do like the water sim you're doing. I'm assuming you're doing like an ocean modifier with some white water or whatever. Let me know if I'm correct there, but I think that looks pretty good. Now in terms of if you're like making this super realistic and stuff like that, water isn't actually like blue. This blue like this, especially at night, it'd be a little bit more blackish and stuff like that. And of course, depending on if you're going for surrealistic or realism, then that totally makes sense. But yeah, just if you're purely wanting to go for a realism, you know, number one, the wave size is a little bit off, I think, too. I don't know of any like kind of sharp waves like this that would be producing kind of this white water and stuff like that. And so the waves are looking a little bit too like small. Like these type of waves, I would assume to be like almost as big as you, right? If you're talking about these peaks and all that stuff. So just keep that in mind. That's a minor note. Also, you're repeating a lot of this stuff. Yeah, I can see it kind of fall off there. And so that could be many different things that you could try to do is like expand the ocean modifier if you're using that. And then some other stuff to kind of like eliminate some of these like repeating patterns and stuff like that. Same with textures and stuff. Oh, I do notice you have a nice little lens flare there. Sick. I like subtle things like that you're trying to incorporate to make the shot look more realistic instead of like blowing it completely out. This lens flare is up to taste. Personally, I'm not a huge lens flare fan. I like very clean visual effects. Yeah, I think one thing, this is not directly to you, but a lot of beginners like will muddy up their visual effects a lot. I even did it when I was learning visual effects. They'll add a ton of lens flares. They'll add a ton of bloom in their shots, especially with that. A ton of like light wrap and all that stuff to blend in their stuff. And so, yeah, so you just, if you're a beginner, you want to make note of that. Some shots require a lot of that stuff, but it is kind of a cliche that happens with beginner visual effects to cheat it a lot, and so just keep that in mind. Let's talk about now your green screen, the main focus of the shot. The green screen, it's very hard to do. I think there are kind of two things that kind of stand out to me about the green screen. First of all, your lighting is very flat on your green screen, and that's most of the time what I find a lot of green screen artists do. And I'm even doing a green screen shot in streaming recently, and I've even had a battle this as well. It's very nice if you're filming your own green screen to make a very harsh key light and set it at night. I like that you have it at night, but like this light over here would be illuminating his face. I think you have a little bit of a key coming from over here, but it's not reading too well. The biggest thing we're kind of missing is the moonlight. You know, this moonlight coming from here, I would have liked to have seen that be like kind of a rim on this side. I think that would have tied in the visual effects a lot. Also, the black point is a little bit off. This is reading kind of mid, day almost. You're compositing. Whereas I think if you darkened it a little bit, you maybe crush some of those values, get it more to the black of the boat, I think would have been a little bit better there, just to blend those two in a little bit more. And yeah, just overall, I think you need to, whenever you shoot green screen, you just need to make sure that you're thinking about lighting on the day. Personally, it's super tough, right? Like I'm not saying it's easy or anything like that, but just I would have maybe made this a little bit more kind of dawnish, maybe make, I like that you have the key light coming from over here, but having the moon in the actual shot, and not having a rim light kind of throws off the composite for me. Very nice work. And I think you can take all of the notes I gave you and do a sick job on another green screen. Hello, Jacob. I don't know how to rate my visual effects skill, but I'm kind of an expert. Ooh, an expert in Blender. Okay. I've been using it for 3.5 years now. This is not all my work because I'm in the studio. Okay. Shout out to the studio. My part to create this visual effects shot were not the sound effects, the idea, and the compositing. Okay. So, just the CGI. So we'll just be grading on that. However, I still will break down everything and maybe pass this on to your team, even though I don't want to like shout them out or anything like that. Let's check this out. This looks sick. That's so sick. Nice little F1 commercial and stuff like that. Sweet. Was this an ad for mobile? Sweet. Awesome. So a bunch of foo stuff going on here. I love it. So first of all, let's just kind of break it down. I love the transition effect. I don't know if that was you doing it in CG. I would assume it is, right? Because it needs to be. Maybe not. But that's sick. I love that transition effect. I think that really sells the shot. I love the skid marks. I don't know if the skid marks was a 3D thing or if they just did that in compositing, because I could see it either way. But that's a nice little touch. I maybe would have liked the skid marks to be a little bit more detailed in terms of like adding some of the tire treads. Yeah, so something a little bit like a little line there or something like that. I also noticed it's a little kind of like flat color, like in terms of like it's just a black layer. I wonder if you guys did it in compositing as a layer or if you did it as a color correction, because the better of the two would be doing it as a mask for color correction. So I'd maybe look to see there, just because it's reading a little bit like fake shadowy. That in. So I like the detail there. Also, is there smoke on the back of the tire? Ah, yeah, nice little detail. Sweet. So you're thinking about physics, right? This is sick. Clients will look at this stuff and see all the little details and be like, that's sick. One thing I'm not loving though, and I don't know how you animated this, but at the very end, the car kind of like jerks straight. Yeah, kind of like jerks. I don't love how it like kind of like is curving, a nice little curve path. Maybe that's what F1 cars actually do. Yeah, it just kind of like jerks right there. I'm not a huge fan of that. Even if they do it, this might be a realm to where I would say it might be realistic, but it might also throw somebody off, and so just kill it, you know. I've had many clients say that before, of like, I know this is realistic, but I don't like it, you know. In terms of the compositing, everything like that, I'm not loving the light direction, if I'm being honest with you. I think the light direction is actually off, if I'm looking at everything correctly. I wonder if you did some tests, because it looks like this sign right here, right, is like going basically straight and maybe a little bit down. I love the framing, the pyramids. I didn't notice that. That's sick. But the light direction is a little bit off in my opinion. Especially if you look at like this overhead thing. It's like it's not lining up to me, and I don't know if you guys did that intentionally, but since we're breaking it down, I might as well mention it. Also, I know this wasn't your part, but compositing wise, the shadow is not reading good at all. I guess this kind of goes to CG, and I guess I could ask you this right now, but for the compositing, or sorry, for the CG, are you breaking the shadow up into a separate pass, or are you just baking in the shadow to the CG and doing like an overall beauty pass? Because you really, especially if you're not handling the compositing, you want to give the compositors all the flexibility in the world. And so having a CG pass separate from a shadow pass is a necessity for accurate compositing. We'll go ahead and talk about the shadow real quick. It looks like you guys are doing it as a layer instead of actually color correcting using the alpha as a mask. And the reason you don't want to do that is because you'll have a situation like this to where it looks like a black cutout was just pasted onto the footage. And sometimes you can get away with that, but in this case, I don't think you guys are, especially because the color of the shadow is actually off. And if you did have it kind of baked in like this or whatever, it's really hard to affect that without also affecting the color grading of like the car and everything like that. This shadow is blue versus this one is reading like kind of like a reddish hue. And the main thing to kind of notice about shadows, guys, is whenever you're talking about like shadows, especially outdoors, is anything facing the sky is always going to have like a blue hue to it. No matter kind of what color the surface is and everything like that, everything that has the sky being like the top-down view is going to have a little bit of a blue hue to it. You can kind of see it over here. That the shadow, since it's on the ground and the ground is facing the sky, it has a blue hue on it. But this little kind of post or whatever this is or whatever, the shadow part over here is actually not facing directly to the sky, and so it doesn't have a blue hue onto it. And so just keep that in mind when you're thinking about shadows and everything. And again, I know you're just talking about the CG and everything you did there, but that is a huge thing of, even though you are just a CG artist, just breaking it down because compositing is as important as CG. In terms, we'll go back to lighting. I think your lighting needs to be more harsh, like more, just more light. Just add more light to it, you know, crank the intensity. That's what I was looking for. Crank the intensity up, because if you kind of like look back here, suns are very, very bright. And so you need to match that as much as possible, especially with some of these cars back here. I noticed you did add some like CG cars back here. Which are looking, they look fine, but I think the intensity is a little bit low in terms of this is looking like maybe like a soft bounce light instead of like a sunlight, right? And so I actually highly recommend, I can go to Blender real quick. I highly recommend you guys check out the Physical Starlight Atmosphere add-on. It's a huge game changer in terms of CG. So it's a add-on you can find on like Blender Market. If you go into the World tab, you can see the Physical Atmosphere add-on. I use it a ton, and it literally is so nice to be able to use. You literally, let's just quickly make a little scene. You literally turn it on. It gives you like a little sun up here, and then we can go and I can just rotate the sun. So I'll just hit R and like double tap that, and now that is reading like sunlight, you know, and stuff like that. So huge, amazing add-on right there that you should definitely go check out if you guys have the need for it. And compared to Blender, sun is all right. We'll go to light, sun right there. And yeah, Blender sun is fine. You'll definitely need to do some other stuff to it. But yeah, you can see the difference right there. And so I highly recommend you check that out. It just helps a ton of, doing sunlight inside of Blender. But yeah, just mainly the lighting, sun direction is throwing me off here, and the compositing, which I know you didn't handle. But yeah, so 6 shot. Let's see. The mask was geonodes. Oh, that's sick. Yeah, I definitely need to learn geonodes. Geonodes is one of the things that I just need to like grind and learn. Sweet. Okay, thank you so much, Mohammed. This was a great effect, and that was the best one yet. Sweet. I love seeing more of an expert, kind of how they tackle stuff, especially inside Blender. But yeah, just I'd spend a little bit more time learning lighting. That's the one thing I would recommend. So.